You were minus 20 back then. Okay. All right.
Wow, open with an applause and a snort. Very nice. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Hi, Mrs. Ryan.
Hi.
That was Bobby Slayton here, everybody. Welcome back. Let's see, Mrs. Ryan, wrong card here. Today is Wednesday, June 5th, 2019. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans, and this is It's Tonight's Show. This evening, our guest is comedian Bobby Slayton. We're excited to talk to him. He's already in here. A couple things to get through just before that happens. Mrs. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Awful.
Okay.
Great.
Got that out of the way. Viewer mail. Okay, so we didn't get to this yesterday. There was too much stuff. We should also say, what a great show with Ant yesterday. Thank you so much for all your time,
yeah,
Ant.
thanks,
Ant
buddy.
said. Viewer mail. Let's see. We got a very nice package from Tashot. I'm going to say Tashot, but it may be Tasho, like your old last name, C-H-A-B-O-T. T-A-C-H-O-T. But they sent some lovely shirts for us. And the story is, we're obviously sponsored by Hunziker Designs. However, the story behind this was the company wanted to put out a Porsche shirt, and they were influenced by our show. And they came up with a nice little logo and design here. Hello.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
That's pretty awesome. That really is. Life and Luft. Our whole thing with life and just the whole thing. I think that's awesome. So one for Mr. and Mrs. and a yellow car for you as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love it.
So thanks, you guys.
Thanks
to Shaw. I highly recommend going to their Instagram and buying some of these shirts. They're very cool. We get nothing from it except for a couple free shirts. But they are pretty neat and the quality's pretty good. So highly recommend. You've got yours. East Coast feed. That's the only other thing I have to do today. The other,
right.
We're sweeping the floor from yesterday.
All right.
All right, let's
See
check
what
in
Kaz
now.
and Brooke are up to.
I know. Oh, hang on, look at that. I had a viewer mail card. There we go. And now that that's done, now we'll switch it over to the East Coast feed card and check in with Danbury Chive, Steve Kaz, over at Ridgefield BMW. We'll see what he's up to today. Roll it out.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, East Coast feed coming to you from the shop. Got something fun to show you today. See, we got a couple of seats right there on the ground. Why is that, you ask? I don't know. Maybe it's a brand new Z4 over here. And wait, let's take a look. Let's take a look inside. What's that you hear? Is it a fan blowing? And that's the carpet up and all the interior is kind of out of the car. Oh, I know why. It's because someone left the top down. And then it fucking poured for like 2 days. And that's a brand spanking new Z4, in case you need to know. So anyway, nobody lost their job yet, but whatever. That's what's going on here in the shop today. Having a wonderful day. You guys enjoy. Later.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I like the comment of nobody's lost their job yet.
Oopsie daisy.
Wow. So we used to have that car.
That's the one we had.
I mean, that's a brand new version of it, yeah. But electronics in rain, none of that stuff in rain. You can't really do any of that. So that car seems to, I don't know, maybe they're trying to avoid flood damage, see how bad it is, if they can just dry it out or not.
Yeah.
It also looked to be a quite loaded, like a well-optioned vehicle, meaning, oh boy, that was probably an order car.
Yeah.
No, an order car.
Oh.
So specifically, that's a car that arrived sold, I would guess, and perhaps that happened. I'm hoping that's not the case.
Oopsie daisy. Have fun with that, Cass.
Thank you for sharing that. More stuff like that, Kaz. More stuff like that. Oh, my gosh. Very good. That's that. All right, Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. What's going on, Mrs. Ryan?
Soon astronauts are going to have GPS in space. Thanks to an atomic clock they're launching up there this month that they're going to have orbit, low orbit for a year to kind of get its place and get some readings and stuff. But it will help astronauts land stuff because it triangulates signals and stuff like GPS here. But it's going to
Our world is expanding at a rapid growth, rapid rate.
Yeah, look up. You can find your traffic. Some wild bees are being resourceful, and it's not necessarily in the most maybe present way, but they're bees. There's a reserve in Argentina, that, builds wood things for them to lay their larvae in. And apparently they're very long, and the bees decorate them typically with leaves and stuff. But
Hive? Are you trying to think of hive? Is that the word? They make a hive for them?
Sure. Yeah, it's a hive.
Okay.
But they called it both hives and nest because it's a reserve. It's not like out in the wild. But regardless, if these wild bees typically decorate with leaves, like they cut up leaves and they put that in there. But they're not this time. There's 3 of 60 at least. They found cut plastic pieces from the farms in surrounding areas. So they're surmising that the bees are thinking that these plastic bags that are discarded errantly look like leaves. So they're being used as like padding and stuff. So bees are figuring out how to use stuff, but
Okay.
It's a weird one.
It all just comes down to there's too much. All right.
Not my greatest historian, but that's what's happening. An example of the good that can come from tragedy, though. A year ago, Kate Spade passed away, and a charity in her name pledged to give $1 million to mental health awareness and education and helping those causes. And they succeeded by donating the last $200,000 of that to something called the JED Foundation, which is a mental health awareness group.
Cool.
So kudos, and it's been a year, and good job. And then lastly, Punky Brewster, who I always looked like when I was a kid. I got called that all the time.
Yeah, we don't have any pictures here, but there was the resemblance when you were younger.
It did not help that I chose pigtails, but whatever. So, Moonfry, I have met her. She's awesome. She's bringing the show back, and it's going to be her starring in it as a single mom of 3 kids who meets a girl that reminds her of her younger self.
Okay.
So
the original show, for those who don't remember, it was 35 years ago probably, was a girl she had a dog, I think, but she was an orphan, and she got taken in by this guy, a widower, I believe.
The old dude, yeah?
Yes. So that was the original premise. Now we've got the little girl coming back. She's a single mom. It's nice. I mean, wish them luck. Sounds like One Day at a Time they did something similar like that. It's not exactly a retelling. It's sort of a new version.
Yeah, I'm just stoked to have that storyline back and have her back on TV. I like her a lot.
Absolutely.
So
that's been What's Going On. Wow, Mrs. Ryan, how do you feel about that news today?
Except for the bee one, I'm okay.
The only issue I had with the bee one is it comes down to, it's littering and it's garbage and we are the problem. The bees are just picking up what's available as they always have.
I just appreciate that they're being resourceful and making
They're not being resourceful is my point. They're picking up what's always been available, which is just, whatever.
Okay.
And it's our fault,
We should all be present and aware of what we discard.
There you go. Maybe use less single-use, whatever. Be more aware of what you're doing. We can't change this thing overnight, but if we're all more aware, maybe we can make a dent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, Mrs. Ryan, it's time to take a break. Bring in Bobby Slayton. Bobby! Have a good conversation with Bobby Slayton. We talk comedy, talk all sorts of stuff. Probably some Letterman's talk. And it sounds like he's got a Lou Costello story where Letterman's desk. He's got Lou Costello's desk. I can't wait to hear that. More to come right after this. Bobby Slayton in that chair. See you in a few.
I make a living. That's the kind of stuff you're going to get all the next hour. Okay.
Great.
It's a famous old Jewish joke. I make a living. All right, well, we're back. What's up, everybody? We're back with Bobby Slayton. Hello, Bobby Slayton.
Well, you know what?
Bobby!
I couldn't get over, first of all, I know I already apologized, but I can't believe the last time you were going to have me on that I forgot. I don't forget anything. I'm early for everything. I'm on time. If I'm on time for something, I feel like I'm late. I got to be there early. I got to park.
Yeah, you were early today.
I was actually an hour early. I was walking around by Bob's Big Boy. I went to Trader Joe's even though I didn't need anything because I was an hour early because there was no way I was going to be late again or miss it.
Holy smokes. All right, well, the backstory is this is makeup week here at It's Tonight Show.
I feel terrible. By the way, let me say something else.
Sure.
I see you have all your pencils, which I think are really cool. Sure. You have a box of pencils with the name of the show on it. And it says, take all the pencils you want.
Yeah.
But I'm shocked with all the work you put into the green room and your living room and the studio that you don't have on the cup. You don't have the name of the show.
That's coming.
Oh, it is coming.
Yeah, it was literally posted yesterday that they're in the works.
Oh, they are.
Isn't that
Yeah.
funny?
Well,
Look at you.
it doesn't take that long to get the bait. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, literally just posted.
Well, that's
that
one of the reasons I came, because I could put it next to my George Lopez and Arsenio Hall Cup.
Oh yeah, well then we'll send you one afterwards. By all means.
It's okay.
Did you do both of those shows?
Yeah. I never did Letterman. I told you beforehand. I don't even want to go into it. It's not because I don't want to talk
I'll
about it.
tell
but
everybody once you're
he
gone.
He thought I did something that I didn't do. So
What did he think you did?
it's a long, stupid thing. You know, it was. I have so much better stuff to talk about.
All right.
Unless you really care.
Well, you brought it up. I'm okay with whatever you want to talk about.
But no, even the Lopez show and Arsenio was great to me. Johnny Carson had me on.
Oh no shit! You did, Johnny?
Well, it's funny because this is a pretty funny story, actually. So Johnny, back in the 80s when I moved down from San Francisco, I was doing stand-up, and I moved down, and getting on the Tonight Show was like getting a pilot.
Huge.
The Tonight Show.
Biggest deal.
Letterman, or if you get Stephen Colbert now, it doesn't do anything like the Johnny Carson show is big. I remember Drew Carey and Stephen Wright and all my peers and people before that. Once you did Carson, then you got to maybe invite over to the couch, and it's a big thing. So it's the 80s.
Well, and then you got a career, right? Then all of a sudden you had money in your pocket because everything was going to change after that.
Right. Well, Freddie Prinze. But it didn't happen every time to everybody, But it did happen. So when I moved down, there was a guy, Jim McCauley. And he was the guy. McCauley's in the room, and you're on at the Improv, and McCauley's coming to see me. And then he'd come in to see somebody, and he'd walk right out before you went on. Finally he came to see me. And all my friends that I started out with, I think Kevin Pollak and Dana Carvey, we all started in San Francisco.
Stuff, yeah.
And by then they had done the show 10 or 20 times. And Jerry Seinfeld did 50 times. And, they run out of people to put up. So finally, he comes to see me, and I get the Tonight Show. It's about, 1990. And I work on my set. Like this is why I don't like doing stand-up on television, because I'm not that kind of structured 5-minute guy. What's your opening joke? What's your closing joke? I'm not good at that. I never liked it. Make sure you hit your mark, and make sure you end with this. So I get the show, and I'm working on it for like a week, and I'm going to Igby's and the Comedy Store, the Improv, and I'm doing it in the shower. I wake up in the middle of the night. I write it down. I write it backwards. I try to write it in French, and there's no way, if there was an earthquake, I was going to miss a beat on the show. So the night before I do the show, Rickles is on, and I'm opening up with an Asian joke, an Asian driver joke, which you probably can't even do anymore. But I was the first one to do these, and I'll still do them. Anyway, so Rickles goes on, and as much as I love Don Rickles, he does a Chinese joke, and it just wasn't funny. And Rickles is always funny. It wasn't good. So the next day, Jim McCauley, it's the day I'm doing the Tonight Show. Jim McCauley calls me up and says to me, "You see Rickles last night?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you see, he did that Asian joke, and it didn't. Maybe you should open up with something else." I said, "Are you crazy? I've been working on this for a month. You saw the set. It kills everywhere. It's nothing like his joke." And he goes, Okay. What did he think? I was just going to change my act right then and there? But So anyway, they wanted me the week before with John Davidson, and I said, "You know what? I've waited a long time to do the show. I'm not doing it with John Davidson. Right. I want to do it with Johnny." They go, "Okay, wait another week." I get the show, and it was a killer set, and I couldn't really see Johnny because I was busy. My wife was standing there next to Freddie DeCordova, and so Freddie was falling over, and Johnny had his tie in his mouth. But let's be honest, it's your first Tonight Show. And you've been doing stand-up comedy for 20, 30 years. If you don't have a killer 6 minutes, you're an idiot. Okay. So, of course, I did great. And Johnny did not call me over. It was fine. But the next day, Jim McCauley calls me up and goes, "Johnny, loved you. We can't wait to have you back. Put together your next 5 minutes."
Wow.
The next day, Johnny announces retirement. He says, "I'm leaving in a year." So
God.
Everybody from the lady who saw Jesus' face in the cookie to everybody out the talking monkey. I called him McCauley and goes, "You'll never get back on because everybody wants to do the show." So that's why I'm stuck here with you two.
Wow, that's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
Jim McCauley was portrayed by a guest that we've had here, Rick Overton, on the I'm Dying Up Here show. It was sort of his type of, Did you ever watch that show?
No, because I wasn't on it, so.
I see.
I'm not on a show I don't watch. No, I watched it once or twice, and I was waiting for them to put me on, and they didn't, so I deemed it stupid.
Fair enough.
Your show's
and now it's off the air.
I love your show. Good. I'm glad they're off the air.
All right. Well, what was? I'm a fan of all of this stuff. I grew up instead of playing sports or doing important things. Yes. I was obsessed with talk shows and watching Carson and Letterman and all of this stuff. So what was your Arsenio experience? What was your...
Arsenio could not have been nicer to me.
Okay.
Arsenio was a great guy, and he did a benefit for me when he hosted the show when my wife passed away. That's a whole other story. But Arsenio...
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that, but I learned of that just today. I was not aware.
I found out yesterday.
Oh my
I was
God.
wondering
That's
why.
terrible.
I was
Worse
wondering why
than-
nobody would wake me up when I was snoring, and nobody would tell me I was
Terrible.
farting,
Terrible.
and nobody
Horrible.
lets me know when the air conditioner's on too high. And there was nobody telling me I'm driving too fast, so the music is too loud. My life has spun out of control. Keith Richards called me. He was worried about me. But anyway. So Arsenio, after Johnny went off the air, and Jay didn't really have a lot of comics on, unless, was a famous guy or unless he could get ratings, which is fine. I had no problem with that. I think Jay made no bones about that. And comics weren't, they said the ratings would go down or drop, whatever. Leno's always been good to me, but Arsenio put me on, I think, 3 times. Oh. And you know what? The first time I did it, or it might have been the second time I did it, I had a great joke about the death penalty. And it was a really, I'm trying to remember the joke about, crazy people or mentally ill people don't get the electric chair because they're crazy, they don't know what they did. And I go, if they don't know what they did, they don't know we're going to kill him. Put the guy in the electric chair, tell him it's a ride, Put him in a hot tub and throw in a toaster, whatever. He's crazy. He's not going to get better. I was always for killing crazy people, but that's my political stance. They're not going to get better. They're mentally ill, so just kill them if they do something wrong. But anyway, so I have this great joke.
That's your platform, right? That's what you're running on?
No, I have a lot of things. That's just one minor point. It just happens to be in the conversation now. But don't get me started with that. So, anyway, it's the same thing with Arsenio. The day I'm going to do a show, I have that joke in my set. And my agent calls me up. Somebody had just gotten lethal injection in the electric chair. Maybe it was Ted Bundy, and the chair didn't work, and his head was on fire. Somebody said, maybe you shouldn't do the electric chair joke because they just had a big thing in the news. What does that have to do with me? What do I care?
Yeah.
You think I'm going to change it now? Then my manager, your agent called. You should do it. I go, fuck them all. I'm doing the electric chair joke, and I did it. And that's why my career is over. I'm stuck here with you two.
That's going to be the punch on,
I'm kind
every
of missing.
single one.
I'm kind of missing John Davidson now.
I noticed.
So that was that, and Arsenio could not have been nicer to me. So he was great.
And then George Lopez, you did was that the TBS show?
Whatever he had,
Lopez Tonight or whatever that was short-lived because Conan
I
came on board.
haven't done a lot of the talk shows because my act doesn't lend itself, like I said.
Yeah,
my
but
material.
you're so good for panel, so I thought maybe some of those other shows maybe you would have done.
Yeah, but my problem with panel was, when you do a panel on a show, when you're a comic, either you have to be really famous, which I'm not, or you have to have like a new show on TV. I remember the one time I thought I'd get the panel with Jay or with Letterman, I thought, or whatever other shows were on at the time. I thought when the Rat Pack movie came out in the 90s, it was the
TV, the MOW, the TV movie.
Oh, look at you with the little MOW.
Well, sorry, movie of the week, wasn't it?
LOL.
Was that the one you're talking about?
It was HBO. Yeah.
Okay.
It was made for HBO, and the movie got a lot of press because I remember Sinatra's family thought that HBO was taking advantage of the fact that Frank died. He died about a week before the movie went into production. Before he started shooting. And the movie had been in production for months and months, so it had nothing to do with cashing in on Sinatra's death. But there was a lot of controversy about it. Well, they got Ray Liotta to play Sinatra, and they think, and then they got Joe Mantegna to play Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis was Don Cheadle. So I thought, okay, this will be my great chance. I'm playing Joey Bishop. I'll get on the shows. But of course, they use Ray Liotta.
And you played Joey Bishop in that?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well,
I wanted
to play
another guest host of the
I wanted to play Sammy Davis, but even that back then people didn't like the idea of blackface. I was happy to put on blackface. I had no idea, talk like Al Jolson, but they wanted a real black guy, which
Al Jolson, you're dropping references left and right.
Yeah.
I love that. Have you ever been over to the Al Jolson Memorial?
Oh,
Where
of
he's
course.
buried?
Of
Yeah,
course.
with the whole
Well,
thing.
I love Al Jolson with a passion.
You do?
And in fact, the great late Jackie Wilson loved him. And,
I love Jackie Wilson.
Huh?
I love Jackie Wilson.
Well,
Great R&B.
There's a couple of old singers and R&B guys that love Jolson, but my father loved him, so I grew up listening to Jolson.
He was an entertainer for sure.
Well, much like me, except I can't do blackface anymore. That's why my career's over.
Did you ever?
What?
Did you really ever, or is this a put on too?
Well, that's why Letterman didn't want me on because I insisted on going out of blackface. No, I never did it. I was going to do it when I ran for mayor of Savannah. I was going to do it when I ran for mayor of Savannah, but I figured, I don't really want to move to Savannah. The humidity. I'm a Jew. It's not good. But see, I would have been great on panel on all these shows, and I always wanted to do it. Fallon was great to me. Fallon had me on when he had his late night show.
Sure.
Because he was my opening act. a few times, which
Oh,
I
you're
didn't know
kidding.
about until he reminded me. You should see who opened up for me. I mean, it's a cavalcade of comics, from Ellen DeGeneres to Ray Romano to Roseanne to David Spade, Patton Oswalt. Oh my God, so many.
That is a cavalcade. That's no joke.
Yeah, I'm like Typhoid Mary, who never had typhoid. I have the fame gene where I don't get the fame, but by touching other people, I give it to them.
But you know what? That's not necessarily true, whether you work or not. People know who you are, and that to me is fame.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we mentioned to people, this is mainly a car show, believe it or not. We have many more car guests and car viewers than comedy, but I'm such a fan of comedy, and she made a career out of it,
Right.
that we just love talking to comedians, and especially we have the opportunity now to speak to people like you. I wouldn't have had an opportunity to meet you on the street otherwise.
Yeah, well, I'm on the street
On
a
the
lot.
street, perhaps, maybe.
I'm on the street a lot, walking around. I don't do it so much in L.A. There's one thing I miss about New York. My girlfriend and I went back to New York. We do it. We try to do it like once a year. And somebody gives me an apartment, which is a godsend. And what's great about my girlfriend is she could walk and walk and walk. My wife had a bad back and could never walk. But my girlfriend, oh my God, she used to be a trainer when she was younger. So we did 200 blocks last week down to the village from the
Holy
Upper East
smokes.
Side and back. And then we came back. We were so tired. She had to leave the next day, and I stayed because I had a gig, and I said, my feet are killing me, and I still walked another 150 blocks. I love walking. I'm a big walker. Maybe it has something to do with I never learned how to drive a stick shift, so I'm making up for it in another way. You couldn't play sports. I could play sports, so I do comedy. So maybe I'm,
But you grew up in San Fran?
No, I grew up in New York, in
You did grow up
Westchester
in
County in New York. And,
Where? Where in Westchester?
Around Scarsdale, White Plains. No, Scarsdale, Edgemont. I say Scarsdale.
I'm on the other side of the border. I grew up in Wilton, right on the other side of White Plains.
Oh, yeah, no, beautiful.
Bedford area.
I think that's where Keith Richards lives.
Yeah, it is. You're exactly right.
No, it's beautiful. I love, when I say Scarsdale, it's like the unincorporated side, not the poor side of the tracks.
I know what
By
you
the way,
mean.
Jolson lived in Scarsdale.
Yep.
And Bugsy Siegel.
Yep.
And a lot of people.
Absolutely. A lot of people still do.
They lived on the good side. I live with the poor white Jews when we're making a couple $100,000 a year. But, so funny. I hated where I grew up. And once I moved out to California, I was on my own. I moved to San Francisco, moved to L.A. You don't realize, and then when you raise a child, you don't realize how great you had it. Because my
Holy
neighborhood where I
smokes.
grew up,
Yeah.
it was almost like a Leave It to Beaver neighborhood, but it was only a 30-minute car ride to Yankee Stadium. It was a 40-minute train ride into Manhattan to go buy pot and incense in the 60s and 70s. And then you go back to the safety of Scarsdale where your neighbors have a pool, and you don't realize how great it is. The
Yeah.
drugstore, the luncheonette where you buy your baseball cards. And those days are kind of over,
I had that exact same experience. That was my experience as well. The bedroom community.
The bedroom community is great, and especially the fact that you were near New York and you were near a beach. I'm guessing in Middle America you still have towns like that, but you're with those horrible, fat, white Republican, farmer, Amish.
Well, but no
And
beach.
I say that in the nicest way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
came out that way. But no beaches. You know what I mean? We at least being on the coast, you have the beach.
Right.
Do you spend time in the water?
I
Are
was
you a beach
big-
guy?
Well, we belonged to a little swim club when I was a kid. So
Oh,
we went,
pardon me. It wasn't that far into the wrong side of the tracks area.
No, a little
Had a
swim
swim club.
No. And then when I finally moved, when I was 18, I moved into an apartment in Soho before it became all, industrialized and gentrified. And I spent the summer in New York
Beautiful,
in a fourth floor, before I moved to California, in a fourth floor walk up with no air conditioning, no wall between the toilet and the bed, sharing it. And I go, you know what? I really miss the suburbs now. And then you realize how great you have it. When I moved to San Francisco and I'm living in this cockroach-infested Chinese apartment with little Asian kids riding tricycles above us, and the Chinese cops wouldn't do anything, I'm going, this really sucks. I need to move back to the burbs.
All right, so clearly this is in your DNA, but what the hell got you into comedy? What made you say, you mentioned the Lou Costello desk. Are you into old comedy before you got into it?
I was always into comedy and always a movie buff, and horror films especially, not so much the ones they make now, not the computerized generated crap, and not the superhero garbage, and not Godzilla, but famous monsters of filmland. I had every issue of it, which is, and I have a lot of friends in the monster business. But when Boris Karloff died, he died a month after my grandfather. I think I cried more with Boris Karloff, and I love my
No
grandpa,
kidding.
but I love Boris Karloff, and I go to the monster conventions all the time. But I was not
too.
into comedy so much as I didn't want to do stand-up comedy. I mean, I was at Abbot and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, Hal Roach, Little Rascals, all kind of, Jerry Lewis, Woody, everything comedy, but never thought about doing it until I moved to San Francisco. And if you talk to a lot of comics, which you have, you'll find that a lot of them always want to be a comic. I'd watch Alan King when I was a kid, or the black comics. I'd watch Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor, or, the Catholic comics and, Cheech and Chong and George Carlin. I watched all these people, but I
Yeah.
never thought, I should do this. I could do this. I never wanted to do it, and yet it never sunk in because I was the kid. Every April Fool's, when I was in 3rd, 4th grade, I always had, the fake dog shit, the fake vomit.
Yeah.
I always, I was,
You're
the
prankster.
dribble glass. I sent away I was the class clown.
Yeah.
Because I sucked in school, sucked in sports. So either you become a comic or a serial killer. And the serial killer thing
chosen.
didn't work out. I hated too many people. I thought I would have killed too many people.
I know what you mean.
How old were you when you moved to San Francisco then?
20.
Okay, so that's pretty young then. But then when did you start doing comedy?
21, but I don't count the first year because I only did it once.
Okay.
So I really started at 22. But the only reason I did it was because I was at a little party, and I'm telling jokes. I was a doorman at this nightclub, the Boarding House, and Henny Youngman was performing, and I
Holy
was
shit.
repeating some of his jokes, and I was.
It's
So-
Mr. Take My Wife, Please.
Yeah.
One of the most famous, that type of comic of all time.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was great at it, and I wasn't. He had some really funny jokes, and I remember just telling some jokes, and somebody said you should go to this club and try stand up, and I did it, and then I didn't do it again for a year. And then when I did it a few more times, I think the first night I did it, it was me and Dana Carvey. Dana and I started it, not the same night, definitely the same week, and I don't know whatever happened to him, but
What was the name again?
I think it was Dana Carvey. And Robin was already pretty successful before Mork and Mindy, but he was already a comic force and a
So where were you
powerhouse.
going up in San Francisco at the time? This is what, the 80s at this point?
No, I started in the early 70s, mid 70s.
Oh, wow.
And I started 76, 77.
You
And
look
it-
great.
Huh?
You look great.
I'm an old guy.
Serious, you look
I'm
great.
64 last week.
Good for you. All right.
With all the drugs and alcohol that I put in my body. But I'm not a girl.
Do you
so it
feel
doesn't-
64?
Huh?
Do you feel 64? You don't look 64
I
to me.
don't
That's
feel
why I'm
s-
asking.
No, and I still drink like crazy. I stopped doing coke a few years ago because I can't find it anymore, and I don't, And then I got to stay up all night. I'm up all night anyway. I don't really need the coke. I'm up to pee 20 times. I do coke. I never get any rest.
So where were you? What were the clubs then?
There was a little club called the Holy City Zoo, and there was a club called, it's very sad. There's a thing in the news now about the Punchline.
That's
which
why I was
I
asking.
kind of didn't start the club, but I was one of the first guys that Dave Chappelle likes working there. He just went on the news. So I think Google is one of these big, horrible companies that is destroying San Francisco, like a lot of towns. They bought all the property.
They bought the whole block, I think. Yeah.
They did that in New York too. Everything's been, if not gentrified, it's all corporate. And all the places I grew up with, it's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book now called Vanishing New York about, between NYU and the corporations just buying these, and that asshole Bloomberg and Giuliani and the whole city's just,
Well,
it's
there's
still
not
hard
much,
to find.
There's not much owned by U.S. soil in New York anymore. It seems
And
to
it's-
all be owned by international organizations.
It's that, or it's Google, or it's Amazon, or it's the combination of two. But it just upsets me.
Do
to
they have
no
a
end.
presence in New York too?
Huh?
The Google and the Amazon. Do they that Silicon the
I
tech?
don't-
They've got
no,
a.
but I'm just saying similar companies,
Yeah.
Of that magnitude.
Yeah.
And every time I go back into the deli, I mean, I saw this last week when I was back there. I walk by places I used to go to all the time, and not only it used to be that the places are gone, the old coffee shops, the old head shops, the old nightclubs were gone, replaced by a Verizon or a Jamba Juice or something. Now the whole building's gone, and another steel giant ice box is put up, and it's
Yes.
horrendous.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the Punchline, which I don't know, I don't think they're going to save it, but that was my club, and I emceed a lot. I was a house MC for, Seinfeld and Michael Keaton and Elaine Boozler and
Keaton in the
George
day,
Wallace.
wow.
So that's where I got a lot of stage time, is the fact that I got, people ask me, where you go on now? And I go, I don't know, because there's too many comics. There's too many.
Do you still go up? Do you still go out and perform? I mean, without being booked someplace?
No. When I moved down here, I played the Improv a lot. And then the Improv or the Comedy Store. A few guys like Leno played both. But you're basically one or the other. So I never really worked the Comedy Store. And then 6 months ago or last year, one of the guys booking a Thursday night goes, Bobby, you never come in the store, and you should come in one night. It pays you. We do this big Thursday night show. We pay $100. And I'd been on stage in a few months, and I said I should go to the store. But to drive from Sherman Oaks to Sunset Boulevard, to fuck with the parking, and to do 10 minutes, and then go back home again and go, I don't need this aggravation. Well, a lot of guys love it, but I don't love it anymore.
Yeah, that's a grind.
It's a grind.
When did it change for you?
Huh?
When did it change for you?
Over the years, you know what? I know Jerry Seinfeld loves to do it, and I know a lot of guys like to do it, but when you're flying on a private jet and you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, you're making $100,000 to $1 million a night, but when you're playing some horrible comedy club in the Midwest and 2 shows on Saturday, a bunch of drunks and bachelorette parties and morning radio, and the American Airlines canceled another flight, It's
a different experience, right?
Look, it's not. I don't have to wear a name tag, and it's people what size shoe they wear, and this what's kept me going over the years. I have a lot of friends that have died of cancer. I have friends with MS. I have friends with people getting sick all over the place. People dying every day. So I'm in good health. I sound like my mother. As long as you got your health, which is only half true, but it's true. I see, so it's been a fine life, but I'm 64 now and I'm tired of it. I don't really want to do it anymore, and I hate acting. It's too much
I
work.
was going to ask you about that, but you've done a bit of acting.
I've done, my share.
Yeah. So what is it you don't like about it? The waiting around? What the hell is it?
Look, again.
I thought that would be what you'd get into now.
Okay. The reason I hate it more than a root canal, if I may use a cliche there, is the auditions, the audition process.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I can get up in front of Yankee Stadium and make a speech. I can get up on stage and do stand-up. But when you go to a room full of 5 people, it's a different animal. I was never good at it, and I don't like it. And when I really don't give a shit, I do fine. But over the years, I stay up all night. I can't take it. And
it's the worst if you want it. If it's something you want, and there's so much pressure because you really want it.
Yeah, and then memorizing lines, I was just never good at. And I don't know if I have ADD. I don't know if it's the drugs I did. I don't know if I'm not as smart as I think I am. I don't know what it is, but I don't like to have to.
It's a makeup. I'm the same way. I would like to be a good actor, but I have no interest in the lines. Meanwhile, if you just give me a moment to talk, I'm as verbose as anybody.
Right. And maybe too much because
Very
I could
much so.
You really should not talk too much now.
You got
but she's great.
Back to you.
She's pretty. She doesn't talk. This is a perfect co-host girlfriend right here. Whatever the hell, wife. Perfect. No talking. Very pretty. You're lucky.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you be here more often? Can you be here more often?
Yeah.
I'm learning to be quiet.
No, but you know what it is? Like, I've done a lot of pilots, and I've never, started them, which is fine. But it's you're in that business, and they put you on a show on Monday. They give you a script, and they tell you not to memorize it because they're changing it all week, and it drives me up a wall.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, it's a half-hour show, but it's only about 17 to 20 minutes of show, and if you're in half of that. So when you think about it, I'm only in 10 or 15 minutes of the show. And why that's such a problem for me, I don't know.
Yeah, and you're like co-starring at that level to be in 15
Woody
minutes
Allen
of the
gave
show.
me something to do a couple years ago that it was the hardest thing I've had to do in my life. He had a show on Amazon called Crisis in 6 Scenes. It's on Amazon Prime. Amazon gave him a deal to do a TV series. He realized they didn't want to do it. So he took a movie and broke it up into 5 or 6 vignettes. And Lewis Black had something, and the great Elaine May came out of retirement and played Woody's wife. Judy Gold, the comedian, she had it. But he gave me a big scene with him, and it was a 7 or 8 page scene. And Woody was playing this kind of scattered guy. So when you act, you're supposed to go, somebody says to you, "How are you?" And you answer them, "I'm fine, how are you? It's a nice day," whatever. But Woody was all over the place. So it was basically, I had almost a 7 or 8 page monologue, which real actors could do, And I'm reading this thing, and I'm going, oh, my God, how am I going to – thank God I had a few months to do it. If I would have had a week or two, I don't know how I would have done it. I had 1 or 2 months. I worked with 2 different acting coaches, and both of them said to me in so many words, Bobby, this is going to be really hard for a real actor. I'm not sure how you're going to pull this off. That's great. Thank you for the vote of confidence. And it was – but I did it. But I'm going, if I had to do this all the time,
Yeah.
that would be very difficult. So in that respect,
but you also sound like you just straight up don't enjoy it, right? You just don't enjoy the process of it.
Well, what I really enjoy when I was on the show, did a show called Mind of the Married Man.
I love that show, Mike Binder.
Yeah, so many people don't remember the show. It was on
HBO as well.
And I thought that was going to be really big because it was. And I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not embellishing. Okay, when the show went on the air, it was supposed to go on the week of 9/11. And, 9/11, so they postponed the show, and the Yankees canceled games, and understandably so. And I'd done a movie called Bandits that Barry Levinson did. It was Billy Bob Thornton and Bruce Willis and Kate Blanchett. And I actually opened the movie, closed the movie, narrated the movie, had a great part of the movie, and it was a very funny movie. And
it was a heist.
It was really good. Very few people know the film. It was a very funny.
The cover art and everything.
Yeah, it got okay reviews, but it was really, really funny. So the movie was supposed to open the week of 9/11. They were flying us into New York. I was doing the Howard Stern show. I was going to play some club. And then, of course, 9/11, so they canceled the movie. They canceled the premiere of Mind of the Married Man. Again, understandably so. But when Mind of the Married Man finally went on, it was sandwiched between The Sopranos and Curb Your Enthusiasm, arguably two of the best shows in the history of television.
Yeah.
Nothing looks good in between those two.
Well, I thought it would be perfect because who's shutting off the TV between Curb? And I cannot tell you, and again, I'm not embellishing, how many people go, I never heard of the show. I said, do you see The Sopranos last night? They go, yeah. Do you see Curb? For some reason, people shut off Mind of the Married Man. And I don't understand how that happened.
I enjoyed it.
Well,
Penny from Lost was his wife on the show. It was good. It was a good cast.
Jay Moore, yeah.
I don't remember Jay Moore being
I
on
think maybe because he...
Oh.
No, it's different. I think maybe because he cheated on his wife and they would go get massages and happy endings, that maybe some guys didn't watch the show because they didn't want... It was on a Sunday night and they wanted to listen to their wife. Wait, would you do that? You think that's funny?
Yeah, I see.
I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of. But so nobody watched the show. But I don't know why I brought that up.
That was my fault. I got so excited that
Because you said to me you don't like acting, but that was great because I didn't have a big part. I didn't have a big part. And every week I'd get the script and I'd look through the script and I'd go, God, thank God I'm only on a few pages. I didn't want to have a big part.
Yeah, isn't that the best though? That's what I think I would want out of a show. To be able to just be on it, be part of the ensemble, the whole thing, but be able to do my 3 lines or whatever because I can hack it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this yet because I told them I wouldn't until I signed the contract.
Yeah, they said it's okay.
They said, no, I'm doing a movie. I'm doing a movie in Europe. I got a call to do a movie in Europe from a major director, and they said, would you like to go to Europe for a week? They fly you in, of course, first class, and they put you up for a week. And I said, well, yeah, why wouldn't I want to do that? And then I'm thinking back to that Woody Allen thing, and I'm going, what if I have all these lines? And it's not till July. I have plenty of time to memorize stuff. And then I get the script, and I said, well, where's the rest of my lines? They go, that's it. 2 lines. They fly me to Europe for 2 lines. And I'm thinking...
And a week.
And I get to spend the week in Europe. And I'm going... So I go, well, that sucks. I only do it. And then I thought, well, I can enjoy the week in Europe because I only have 2 lines.
Yeah, you're not stressing out about it,
I'm not
right?
stressing out. Nobody will remember me. I don't care. I have a week in Europe. Take the girlfriend. She'll be, you sure you want me to go? You'll be working. I go, I have 2 lines. That I think I can handle. I'll work on 1 line in June, 1 line on the plane ride, and hopefully I can put them both together, not get them mixed up, not get them backwards, and it'll come out okay. So that's kind of cool.
And we don't. We'll stay tuned for that. We'll stay tuned to see what that movie is when it comes out.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on it.
There's another show I did, which I'm actually not allowed to talk about either. They said they don't want me saying anything.
Okay.
On social
But that's
media.
something else coming up.
Something else. No, nobody will care. Nobody will see it.
You mentioned Howard Stern before, though. That's a pretty big one. What was that experience like?
Howard hasn't had me on in years.
Was it the old radio show before?
I wasn't on the Sirius XM one. I was on the his regular one.
Yep, it's K-Rock
about 3 or 4 times, and I thought it went really well. Howard never puts on. Look, he doesn't put you on unless you're famous or unless you have your life's a horror story, like Robert Schimmel's life was a horror story.
Yeah.
And Gilbert Gottfried is a walking. I love Gilbert, but he's a lunatic, and they're good friends. But I remember Gary Delabate saying to me, "You got to come up with a really good story." So I had a couple of things about my daughter going into showbiz, and and that. But that was years ago, and then that was it. It was fine. Howard could have been nicer to me.
That's cool. But I mean, you enjoyed the actual experience.
As much as I like this, I like it.
I thought maybe a little more than this.
You know why I like doing stuff like this, or you, or Howard, or anything? Getting back to the acting thing, the reason I loved acting so much, I do, by the way, hate sitting around all day. Because, I'd always get to the show an hour early, and I'd sit there, and it's excruciating, the time, because I'm bouncing off the walls.
Right.
They give you a little trailer, and even when you get a big trailer, I can't sit in there.
Right.
So you bounce off the...
Your energy's contained.
Yes, I can't take that. I'm very hyper if you can't tell. I'm a type A personality.
No.
I got
But
high
it's
blood
60,
pressure.
this is why you don't seem like 64 at all. I mean, you've got the energy
And
of
this
a
is why I stopped
25-year-old.
doing coke. Because you imagine when you did coke, it would be like only like dolphins could understand me. Yeah, I killed at Seaquarium. I'm killing aquariums, ladies and gentlemen. But the great thing about doing this or a movie, I feel when this is done, 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, I can crack open a bottle of wine, and I feel like I did some work today.
Okay. So productive. You feel productive.
I feel productive.
Accomplished.
Right. And you asked me before if I was in a hurry. And I said, I have nothing to do but move a cactus from one garden to another garden. I do gardening now.
Well, you've got house issues, right? You're having work done.
It's unbelievable. It's every week. It's
What's going on?
It's like the movie The Money Pit. It's like
I love that movie too. You make great
It's
references.
like when I watched Mr. Blandings build his dream house with Cary Grant, and I said, this is nothing compared to what I've gone through. Nothing. Things seem to be okay now, but it's been 15 years since I've had this house, and I think it was haunted. A guy
Should be
killed
dialed
himself.
in by now, right?
A guy killed himself in the bedroom, shot himself in the head.
Seriously?
Not when I was there.
Last night.
He wasn't. No, it was. I found out it was, and they didn't have to tell us when we bought the house because if somebody dies in a house, they have to tell you. I think within 5 years, it happened like 7 or 8 years before that. The guy, he probably.
So the full disclosure, they didn't have to give it to you.
You don't have to give full disclosure if it's
good
more than 5
grief.
years that somebody dies in the house or kills himself in the house or there's a murder in the house or whatever. But so yeah, it was more than that. And then after living there for a few years of this house, I said, I see why the guy killed himself. Because I'm about to shoot myself in the head. This house would drive me crazy. It was like that poltergeist house. It's like The Shining with the hotel. You start running around with an axe. Yeah. Well, I'm okay now.
Well, even The Money Pit, there's a line in it where he says, "Here lies Walter Fielding. He bought a house and I killed him."
Right. Well, what really helps me is a bottle of wine every night. Is the wine relaxes me? It doesn't make me relax. And I play my drums.
Oh, you're a drummer.
I play the drums. I never said I was a drummer.
What kind of drumming do you do? I'm a drummer also, or used to be.
You a drummer?
Used to be, yeah.
You know what? I've taken lessons for last year, learning how to play music, which I can't do. But I do a lot of, Clem Burke's one of my favorite from Blondie. But I do more, New York Dolls, Ramones. I like to bang.
Okay, yeah.
I used to put my wife's picture on all the drum heads, so it made me hit them harder.
Oh man.
I mean, for somebody who doesn't want to talk about it, you bring it up a lot.
Motivation. It was motivation. I broke more drum heads.
Good.
When have you always been, or did you pick this up recently?
No, you know what? When I was a kid, my parents bought me a $99 set of drums when I was 13. And then I bought a set from a friend of mine. And then, when I moved to California at 20, you really can't in an apartment play drums.
Nope.
And there were no of those electronic quiet drums back then.
Yep.
And I couldn't afford them for years, even if they were. So I really played a little bit when I was a teenager. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I bought a great set of drums, Ludwig's, about 7 years ago. And then we sold them because it's a long story. But anyway, my girlfriend bought me a set for my birthday 2 years ago. And then last year, we won a set at a big cancer charity auction for children. And I said, I got it. She was getting another set. I go, what am I going to do with 2 sets of drums? So I have 2 giant sets of drums.
I think most people have. Most drummers have at least 2 sets of drums.
But drummers, I don't. I'm not a drummer.
You keep saying that. I'm not a drummer either. Even I still to this day have 2 sets of drums. One's on the East Coast, one's on the West Coast. They're neither one of which are in my
Really?
whatever. Yeah, they were both at different studios.
When was the last time you played drums?
With Craig Robinson it was the Hot Tub Time Machine 2 rap party in New Orleans at that hotel, and we played all night. So that was 2013, 14, something like that.
I'm right here in Sherman Oaks, and I see all the great 60s stuff you have. You should come over and see my house. I got a collection of vintage tiki mugs from the 40s and 50s on a wall. I got some really cool stuff in my house. I have 2 sets of drums.
Well, that's awesome.
We can have a drum off. I can't even play Wipeout anymore. I used to be able to play that. I can't even do that anymore.
I came up through jazz. I like stuff like that. I'm not too hard.
Yeah, pussy music. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Somebody I used to love very much, and he's big in the Letterman world, was a friend of yours, Jay Thomas.
Oh, yeah, Jay, yeah.
Do you want to talk about Jay in any way?
Jay was a friend and a fan, and I used to do his show on Sirius XM a lot, but Jay I know from... I'm trying to remember, he's on a TV show called Married People, and I was doing the warm-ups for the show. But I'm trying to remember where...
It was Love and War, wasn't it, one of them?
I don't even remember. Yeah, he was on so many shows, but I'm trying to remember where Jay and I became friends. But it's been a long time. And I always loved him on the Letterman show.
He was Eddie LeBeck, for people who remember Cheers. He was
Cheers.
one of Carla's husbands.
Oh, right.
Got run over by the Zamboni.
Zamboni, right. And I think because he making fun of Rhea Perlman, I think they just killed him off. I think that's
what his story was.
Yeah. But I used to love him on I go to see him in New York all the time. And unlike me, Jay, he was not a foodie at all. So he'd get really mad.
Hamburgers.
What's that?
He likes hamburgers. Only hamburgers.
Why is she talking?
I don't know.
Oh.
No.
He's kidding.
But he was one of because I'm kind of not really a foodie guy, but I was kind of one of these guys. She looks mad now. I was kidding.
I'm fine.
Okay. Watch, I'll get her laughing again. That's how charming I am. I get women to hate me and still laugh at me. That's how you know
That's
you're
the
good.
act, right?
That's how you know you're good. When women laugh at you and they don't like you. Because, so many comics are really pleasant. I'm not a pleasant guy. So if I can get laughs, if I was pleasant on stage, I think I'd have more people like me.
But I think that you are pleasant inside. I like you, and I don't even know you. I've always liked you, even though I can tell, the act is the act. Am I wrong? Am I wrong for that?
No, you asked me a question. What was it? About food. But Jay Thomas.
I don't remember.
Does Jay Thomas eat a lot of hamburgers?
No, Jay Leno, and I am wrong on every level, so I'm just rescinding myself from the conversation. Learn that.
People
part.
write letters now how mean I was to you now.
Sure.
Well, good. Then maybe I'll stop
They'll
getting as many.
probably write as many about how mean I am. So it's
Leno
totally
is also a guy that's not into food. I know a lot of comics aren't big food people, but it's one of my passions in life. I love to cook. I'm not a great cook. It's like I play the drum. I'm not a chef or a drummer. I like to play drums. I like to cook.
It's almost like you don't want the responsibility of carrying that, but you like doing all the stuff.
I like doing it because, when you cook, you can make stuff, you really like. And I can make stuff that my girlfriend really likes. And it's great that her and I are on the same page, for the most part, with food. My wife was a very difficult person to cook for because she didn't like half the stuff I liked. So I would go out of my way to make stuff for her. But my girlfriend and I, and you know what it is?
You brought her up a lot. Can we say that your wife passed away? Can we say that?
Say whatever you want.
Well, I mean, would that be...
You can say I killed her. What do I care? Nobody's listening.
But that's not true, right?
No. She shot herself in the head with another guy in the bedroom.
No.
Oh, that's terrible.
No.
See, now she's laughing.
Way to bring it around.
Wife. Are you happy?
Way to bring it around.
Sure.
No, she, you want to hear a great story? I'll tell you a great story. Okay, about my wife. Well, when she passed away, before she passed away, I mean, not a great story, but this is pretty interesting. A friend of mine who was a major manager and producer, he, I guess I could say his name. Why shouldn't I? Larry Bresner. He managed Robin and Billy.
Okay.
And Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. And I knew Larry for 40 years because when I was a young stand-up comic, before I was a comic, I think I said this earlier, I worked at this club called The Boarding House where I first saw Henny Youngman.
Yes.
And Robin Williams was a young comic at the time, opening for Melissa Manchester and opening for a few other people. And he finally started making it big and would play The Boarding House. And I met Larry, and I was with him for a little while. He managed me for a little while. So over the years, he'd come see me in L.A., and I was one of his favorite comics. And in L.A., you don't really see people that often. I was on the road all the time. And it's always like that cliche, hey, call me, we'll have lunch. And it's not, I don't mean not to call people, but, when you have a baby and a wife and you're on the road and you're packing, unpacking, you don't want to go back out again.
Yeah,
you don't want to go to a restaurant. Anyway, I'd see Larry periodically over the years, and he passed away about 4 years ago. And I spoke at his service. And I met his widow, who I never met. They've been married 12, 15 years, whatever. And I met her, and it was a beautiful service. And Billy spoke, and all these people, John Lovitz, and everybody. He was a really well-loved guy. And my wife was alive at the time. And I went to her house for a little, food, Jews do, put out all the food.
Nice spread.
Yeah, put out spread. And I met his wife, his widow, very nice lady. And then my wife passed away 3 months later. And we're kind of neighbors. And I called her up, not for a date, but I called her up and said, we should have a drink. Because, I invited her to my wife's memorial. She couldn't make it. And we weren't friends. And we met up at a place right by her house. We had a drink. And I took her out for dinner. And that was over 3 years ago. And I've been with her ever since.
Wow.
The widow and the widower.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. When I say it's great, not that our spouse has died, but it's great. And people have first said, it's like a rebound thing. And I said, no, as soon as I met her, I knew I was going to fall in love with her, and I did. Yeah. As soon as I met her. And I said, I think you're going to fall in love with me. She goes, you're crazy. And I'm telling you, we're meant for each other. And it took months. But like your wife falling in love with me, brothers fall in love with me all the time. Because I just got that lovable personality.
Yeah. Comedian thing.
Sometimes I laugh at my own bullshit, but anyway.
I think you're fantastic. I'm really excited you're here.
I'm happy to be here. I still feel so bad about missing the first time. I can't believe I did that.
I still want to know about Jay Thomas.
Oh, I thought you figured. No. Anyway, so Jay and I became friends, and every time I do a show in New York, if I was back there, we'd always go out to eat, and I'd say to him. He'd always I said, hey, we got this Italian restaurant down the street. I found this new gastropub. He goes, let's just go somewhere and eat. you with your food. And, I'd always take him somewhere. He loved eating, and he was a great guy.
Totally.
But like a lot of people, just not into food.
Just make the fucking decision and go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some comics don't care, some guys. But anyway, Jay, we were talking about his famous Lone Ranger story. And if any of your listeners don't know the story, I imagine, he would tell it every year on Letterman.
Yes. Christmas time.
Every year, and he'd throw the football, try to get the meatball off the Christmas tree. And that story, Dave would always laugh at the story. Remember one year he couldn't make it to, who was it, John?
I don't remember who did it. I'm glad you can remember this.
John McEnroe. John McEnroe.
Is that who it was?
I think Jay was sick at the time,
Yeah.
and he couldn't do his annual. It was like about a year or two before he passed away.
Yeah.
And so then John McEnroe on, and John McEnroe told the
I
story
can't believe
that
it was
he tells.
McEnroe. That is so great.
Yeah, no, but I'm sure you could Google it. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
But he tells it as if as if he's
well,
Jay, right?
they mentioned, you let him and said, look, Jay Thomas couldn't be here. We have John McEnroe sitting in telling the story that Jay tells every year. And to give John credit, he told it very admirably. He did it really well. But what I was going to tell you was,
if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, please Google the Lone Ranger story on Letterman. It will come up. You'll find it. It's a riot.
And
it's a true story.
Yeah, but it's a true story, and you've seen it a million times, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what he didn't say, and I thought, okay, one night, I need to drop names here. One night, I'm having dinner in New York with a friend of mine who's good friends with Woody Allen. And I've been over to his house a couple of times to have dinner with Woody. And my friend said, Woody, I had such a good time with you. The next time you're in town, maybe you could invite a few other comedians to dinner, because Woody would be very comfortable talking other comics. And because we had a really nice time. And for me to be in New York, for Woody to be in New York,
What did that feel like, by the
there,
way? I mean, he's like royalty. What did that feel like?
Woody?
Yeah, getting the seal of approval and saying, hey, bring your friends.
Well, what's interesting is that I've always been such a lifelong fan of his. And, when my friend invited me to dinner with Woody the first time, I said, well, I'm going to have dinner with him and Woody. I said, who else? He goes, well, his wife Sunil will be there. I said, okay, well, I can't really talk about his movies. And I really don't know anything about jazz. Woody's a big jazz guy. I said, well, I'm a big blues guy. I could talk about the blues and how much I love that. And I know he loved the Marx Brothers. I love them.
Sure.
But I don't know how much this is going to float us through dinner. And I know Woody's a big sports fan, and I'm not. I was when I was a kid, but I'm not anymore. Anyway, we just started talking, and Woody started asking me about stand-up. And though I started in the 70s in San Francisco, Woody was big in the 60s, even though New York was big in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
There was a big comedy scene, between Phyllis Diller and the Smothers Brothers, and Mort Saul, and Woody Allen, and Jonathan Winters. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And we had a lot of mutual friends, because I was friends with these people, and David Brenner and this guy.
Oh, boy.
So we talked a lot about
the
comedy.
people I grew up watching.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and people I grew up watching. And I knew some of them, and, his ex-manager, Manager Robin. So we had a 3-hour dinner. Wow. Me and Woody and my friend and Woody's wife, so it went great. And didn't feel like we were sitting there for 3 hours, because
the best ones, right?
I could talk. And Woody's wife's like yours. She's very pretty and doesn't talk a lot. Another lucky guy, that Woody.
Slam dunk.
Once in a while he'd lean over and he'd say to her, the Harper was the quiet one, because they're
That's right.
different generations, No, not because I'm saying that he would explain certain things to her. And, Jonathan Winters was a great comic, and whatever. So. Anyway, we had a nice dinner, and they said, next time you should invite some more comedians over. So I invited, I'm trying to remember who came to the first dinner. It was...
The first dinner.
We only did a few times, but it's pretty great. Okay, the first one was David Brenner, Louis Black.
Wow.
Me, Woody's wife, my friend, whose apartment it was, our host, Dick Cavett.
Oh, come on.
And
come on.
David, yeah,
Talk
Dick
show
Cavett.
That's a
royalty.
big
Because
dinner.
him and Woody are great friends.
Oh,
So,
that makes sense.
They've been
makes
great
sense.
friends
I never
since the
thought of that.
60s. Really, really good friends. And Dick Cavett was an amateur magician. I guess he did that when he was younger.
And amateur comedian.
Yeah. So halfway through dinner, David Blaine shows up and starts.
What year is this?
Yeah.
This is you're combining it now. Now I don't believe a thing.
I never bothered to take a picture, but it was
David
and I
Blaine
should've.
from current stuff is with all of these Hollywood royalty.
He couldn't make dinner. He shows up at the end of dinner, and David Blaine says to everybody at the table, okay, so you got to remember, it's David Brenner, and me and Louis Black, and Dick Cavett, Woody, and Woody wasn't talking a lot because none of us would shut up. And then Jay wasn't at this dinner. And anyway, so Blaine shows up, says, who wants to see some magic tricks? And he starts doing some stuff. And it was mind-boggling. And we all stood around, and for Brenner and me and Louis to shut up for 5 minutes, let alone for 45 minutes. You know, like, for example, a million magicians do this. They'll hold your hand and they'll take your watch off. Sure. But I'm so skinny. I have a watch band on that's so tight that I have to have extra holes put. I can't even get this watch band off myself when I open it up. Mm-hmm. I can't even do this myself. I go like this. I'm pulling at it. How he held my hand for a second and took my watch off. And I know other guys do it. I don't know how they do it. And it was mind-boggling. And then at the end of the whole dinner, and I don't know if Dick Cavett knew that David was showing up or if Dick just had this with him, Cavett reaches into his pocket and takes out that rope trick you could probably buy at Fisherman's Wharf.
Sure.
You cut the rope and it's whole again, and then you cut it
pieces,
again,
pieces,
and you hold the
one
piece,
piece. Yep.
And then there's a circle and a knot. I don't know how to do that, but you can buy that at any magic store. And he did it seamlessly. Cavett did it great. But the fact that he had the balls, and it was great
That's ballsy.
to follow David Blaine, you know?
With the cheap store joke, yeah?
Yeah, it's a store. Yeah, it's a store boy joke.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a store boy joke. But I mean, even those jokes take some work. But you know, he'd been doing magic his whole life. But I love the fact that Cavett did that. Anyway, the next time we had dinner,
getting back to dinner with Dick Cavett. To me, that's just the be all.
That was enough. We didn't do Woody and everybody else. I had dinner with any of those guys. David Brenner became a friend of mine when I worked Vegas, and Brenner
he was so good.
2 generations before me, and had great stories about the mob and Philly and. You know, an opening for
Rat Pack and he was
Diana Ross, whoever he opened up for.
He hosted for Johnny too all the time.
All the time, more than anybody actually.
Is that right?
I think it was like 350 times.
Oh.
David Brenner hosted. But you know, I was always a fan of. We were talking about this earlier, showbiz, and I'll get back to Jay Thomas.
No, it's okay. This is great.
I was always a fan of showbiz. You know, go back from the Borscht Belt and Buddy Hackett and the Catskills, and going back to the silent films. And I love Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd, and I studied those movies not as a scholar or to discuss them, but just I love that stuff. The Little Rascals and Laurel and Hardy and the Steps, and I just love all that with a passion.
Have you ever gone and visited the Steps here?
The Steps, of course. And I've got to visit a lot of places, but like New York, they're not there anymore. Here's where this stood. And I'm a fan of Chicago crime. And I went back to, of course, the Biograph, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And a lot of that stuff. Some of that stuff's gone. So anyway, in Brenner, I was a big fan of Vegas. And when I did the Rat Pack movie, we couldn't shoot anything in Vegas because everything is gone. And anything that is... There was nothing left.
It would have been the Sahara and the Palms and the old stuff, right?
There's nothing left, nothing. Yeah. And the few hotels that were there have all been remodeled, and there's with bungee jumps and things behind them. So it was all done on sets.
Like it used to.
It was all done on sets and blue screen. Anyway, so just talking to any one of those guys was great. Anyway, the next dinner we had, I invited some people, but a lot of guys aren't in town. You get everybody, and I think my friend Nick DiPaolo, great comic, he came. Try to remember who else. Oh my God, not Gilbert, Jackie Martling, Jackie the Joke Man.
Oh my God, hey!
I invited Gilbert. He couldn't make it because he would have been great. He really wanted to go. Colin Quinn couldn't go. Anyway, I invited.
I love Colin too.
Who else was there? I don't. Okay, so anyway, Jay Thomas was at that one, and Jay Thomas at the end of dinner, I said, "You got to tell Woody." Because Woody never watches television. We had all heard.
Oh, the story.
What?
He has to tell the story.
You have to tell the Lone Ranger story.
Oh, that's
what
God.
That's what I was getting to with this whole backstory
Too
and name
Woody.
dropping. Okay. So I'm trying to remember who else was there.
Now you have to go check out that story, folks.
Yeah.
Just to understand the context.
Okay. I'm going to say this. Okay. I'm really building this up.
Yep.
But,
take your time.
okay.
It's good.
Okay. There was more to the story than, and I guess since Jay is gone, and Jay... Clayton Moore is gone, who played the Lone Ranger, I guess. And I don't remember exactly, but Jay tells the story the same year after year after year. That was the point.
Yes.
So at dinner, he's telling the story, and all the comics had heard it because we all watched Letterman, and we're still laughing.
Of course.
And Jay's telling the story
It's a
exactly
great story.
like he told it over the years. He's done it so many times. But at the end of the story, when he gets out of the car, hold on, nobody's going to mess with the Lone Ranger, whatever he said. And the guy got back in the car and drove away. There was more to the story, and Jay never told it on television.
Right.
About I guess the Lone Ranger was asking, and I don't know if Jay was making this up. He promised me he wasn't. That he was asking where he could find some company for the evening, and if they knew where he could get himself a woman or something about hookers. I don't know.
Something.
But he kept going on and on and on. And it was another 2 or 3 minutes to the story that was edited out for television.
Yeah.
They never told.
Yeah.
And I feel bad telling it because Jay's gone, but there was more to it. And Woody was on the floor. We were all cracking up. And I said to Jay, was that true? Did you embellish with the hookers? He goes, no.
Was it just as good as the first part of the story, or did it feel like an
I don't
add-on?
remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect there to be more of the story. I thought maybe he was adding that on for just because we weren't on television.
Totally believe it, though. I mean, the old days, of course, right?
Yeah,
I believe it.
But, because Lone Ranger in those stories was so stoic and, proper. And
All dressed in white.
Yeah.
The good guy.
So, So there was more to the story that we never got to hear.
Wow.
And I wish I could tell you the rest, but I don't remember.
The story puts Jay Moore and his friend and the Lone Ranger in a car driving around. So that's what the premise is of the story. And then the whole thing.
You've never seen it?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
More for the folks at home.
Yeah.
For
for
folks at home.
It's exhausting being me. You realize I've done like 4 hours of material and I could crammed it into.
How do you feel? I mean, we've gone an hour. How do you feel already?
I feel like I'm going to enjoy my bottle of wine.
Are you into cars at all? There's no wrong answer.
Speaking of cars, yes. Well, it's interesting because you have so much, beautiful vintage stuff here. My first car, I never had a car as a kid. My friends had cars. I never had a car.
Right.
And having a car, my first car, I was living in San Francisco and I bought a 56 Chevy. Beat up 4-door 56 Chevy
Bel Air,
from a friend of mine in Bel Air.
Yep.
Yeah. And, of course, no air conditioning, no power steering. And it was really bare bones and beat up, but I had a car. And it was only, God, it cost me under $1,000. But to have a car in San Francisco with the hills, I mean, thank God there's no snow because you'd never be able to navigate and negotiate those hills with any kind of car. And I couldn't drive a stick shift. I don't know how people did it, but I had the car. And it was a bitch because there was no parking in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And I'm living in San Francisco, but I used the car because, you had to get, across the bay to do gigs. There were a lot of comedy clubs. They just weren't in town. So I'd never had a comic to take me. And this car, you couldn't drive it very far because it would overheat. And I remember going to Tahoe with my brother. We made it to Tahoe with this thing. And there was no heat in the car, so we had to put blankets over us. Anyway, the car was basically a piece of shit, but it got like 12 feet a gallon. I think George Wallace gave me that joke. Because I remember driving George Wallace around. He goes, "What do you got, like 15 feet a gallon?" And that's great. He goes, "Don't use that joke as mine." I think I used it, but anyway. So that was my first car, and that didn't last very long. And my second car, because I couldn't drive a stick, was a BMW. Remember the 2002? Those little boxes.
Love the 2002, of course. They're huge now. Try to find one.
Really?
They're expensive again, yeah.
It was out one of the other cool BMW. I don't know what the number was, but it kind of that spaceship rockety looking one. Yeah, it came out a couple years later. It was another really cool BMW. It kind of looked like a Corvair almost. But anyway, I'm not a big car guy, but I get a little 2002 BMW.
Oh, the Corvair. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it had those little wing things. Yeah, it was really cool.
They call it the Shark.
And since there wasn't a stick, the car had no power, And I lived in San Francisco. The car it drove fine. And I decided, I went to my car guy, and I had a big bullhorn put in the car, a big police, which is illegal. I had one put in. So I could tell people, "Get your fat ass out of the way. Coming through, go. You can make a right turn at a red light, you retard."
I did the exact same thing.
I did all this stuff. And, and I knew it was illegal. But then I'm thinking this is kind of cool. What am I going to do? Rikers Island or Alcatraz for this?
No.
So I'd be driving, and I had a siren in it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
I'm in my 20s. What am I, 12? I put a siren in the car.
All out.
I didn't use it a lot. But I remember.
Blip, bloop.
Yeah. Put that in. It's great. And so I'm driving. I remember going to a Giant game at Candlestick Park. And, pulling out of the park, you can't get out. People are walking. And, "Hey, get out of the way, buddy. Get your fat ass out of the way." And, the guy stopped. And I rolled up my window and took off. And I realized, I got to be very careful how I use this thing.
You were still young at that point?
Yeah.
22, something like that?
Early
20s. Yeah, that's just the same.
Then my next car was...
It only takes one moment, by the way, to make you realize, ooh, this is I'm playing with fire here.
Well, these days, you just walk out of your house, go to a movie theater or a mall, you might be dead, or go to a school.
Yeah.
Back then, you just ask for it. Now you just leave your house. You could be in big trouble, Because I really got that road rage, and I'm really pissed at people. But that's a whole other story.
Well, you mentioned the high blood pressure. That seems to, that's always been part of your persona, whether you've actually had it or not.
I do have it. I take one little pill, and I'm fine. I'm great.
You're fine.
Yeah, I'm fine. If it helps my funny, it's fine. So then my next car, beautiful. I buy this 54 Chevy. I can't believe I don't have any pictures on my phone of this. It was a beautiful condition. Turquoise 54, 4-door, unfortunately. Okay. No, 2-door, but it didn't have the window.
I see. Yeah.
Beautiful, a 54 Chevy, and that was my car for a long time. That one also did not have AC in it, and I wasn't going to put it in. But I did put in, a cassette player, and kept the
creature comforts.
Huh?
Creature comforts.
Yeah, but without ruining the beautiful metal dash, and it was great. And I got, I went on Hemmings and I bought the
Hemmings Motor News.
Yeah, and I bought all the.
Smokes.
I got the little blue dots in the back. They came in the brakes as a little blue dot, which was a feature you could get on the brakes on the rear view brake lights. You could have little blue dots, which turned out the cops pulled me over, probably thinking I was Mexican. And
what was it was just an accessory thing?
It's an accessory thing that they put in cars back then.
Okay.
When you put your foot on the brake, for some reason, the brake lights would go on, be a little blue dot light.
I remember seeing old Volkswagens like that. It had almost a violet shade.
Yeah. Illegal in California. Cops pulled me over and they go, what do they do?
Oh,
they
because
said, you have a little
like
blue dot, those are illegal. And I didn't know that. I don't know if they still are. But anyway, so, but the car... those are the kind of cars you want to drive on weekends. Yeah. When you're sitting on the 405 in the summer, coming back from an audition, and I remember breaking down on the 405 when there was no cell phones and there was no place to call. I remember jumping over a fence and going to some elementary school. They asked me if I could use their phone to call AAA, and cars are pain in the ass. When I park in my driveway, people would steal the hubcaps. I had to put special locks on them.
Oh, my gosh.
Then I just realized, you know what? I'm just going to get a regular car. I sold that thing, and now I drive a Volkswagen Jetta. Before that, I leased whatever the hell I had, a Nissan.
They've gotten utilitarian, though.
Total, you know what? But it gets me where I want to go.
Yeah.
I know these cars are not going to break down,
Yeah. It's great.
My Volkswagen is the greatest car ever.
Love Volkswagen.
I'm sitting there in 120-degree weather. The air conditioner works. My Sirius XM works.
Starts every time.
It starts every time.
Yeah.
I came back yesterday, 2 days ago, gone for 10 days. Right away it starts, no warming it up.
That's great.
If you Jerry Seinfeld the Leno and you can have 50 cars, you have a different car, like Liberace, you got a suit for every meal. That's one. I don't have that. And
Is that true about Liberace? Soup for every meal? I believe it.
At least one a day.
I like it. Bobby Slayton, I hope that you've enjoyed this experience.
It was fine. It was great.
Yeah?
Oh, you're
hard to read.
You never asked me about Lou Costello's desk.
Oh, yeah. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, too late. You've already ended the show.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
But I want to know.
Are you on social media at all?
Yeah, I'm with Pitbull.
But not much.
I hate social media. I'm on Twitter.
Everybody hates it, don't they?
I hate it with
don't
a passion.
They have to do it?
I'm on Twitter. It's Pitbull of Comedy, and I'm not making this up. Every time I tweet, I lose 5 or 10 people, and I'm not even. It's not even anti-Trump stuff. I don't even do that anymore. I'll retweet somebody says something funny about Trump, what a douchebag is, and I'll retweet it, lose 3 or 4 people. But I post food pictures. Every time I put something on there.
Are you on Instagram?
Huh?
Instagram?
Yeah, my girlfriend makes me do Instagram. I'm on the real Bobby Slayton, I think. There's tons of food pictures. Oh, my God. Tons of, oh, my God. She makes me do Instagram because, I don't know why. I don't really give a shit about any of it. But the Lou Costello thing.
Were you a fan of Abbott and Costello?
Oh, my God.
You mentioned all of the old guys
my God.
before. So was I. My dad was a huge, massive fan of all. My dad was a massive fan of comedy in general. He used to go see the Honeymooners get taped on Saturday nights.
My home phone number is Alexander 44444.
4444.
And
the Susquehanna Hat Factory.
I used to work on Bagel Street.
Come on, this is great. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
But by the way, they weren't always on Bagel Street. They were and Bakshigaloop, and I love Hillary Brooke. She was the most hottest woman in the world.
Wow.
And Big O the Chimp. But anyway, no, I loved Abbott and Costello. My favorite movie of all time to this day. And Dana Carvey shares this with me. Make sure Dana again. Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein.
Oh,
More
okay.
than Citizen Kane.
I have 2. It's Frankenstein and Goes to Mars. The 2 of them I enjoy both.
Goes to Mars. That'd be the same.
You don't like that one?
No, garbage. I mean, it's okay, but
no, I think I'm not saying it's good. I think I was exposed to it really young, and whatever I associated my dad and the whole bit. But I know the movie so stinking well. Yeah.
That's like putting the Bee Gees Sgt. Pepper along with the real Sgt. Pepper.
That's fine.
No, that's a
but
stupid
if that's
analogy.
all you're exposed to.
No, Goes to Mars. I love that. Every Saturday in New York they would show, probably with you too.
Yeah,
right?
PIX in New York.
PIX,
Every Sunday, yep.
WOR would have the $1 Million Movie,
Yes.
and they'd have all these, they have the Jolson story, Godzilla, but Abbott and Costello every week.
Yeah.
That or Blondie. But with Dagwood Bumstead. But anyway, no, so Lou Costello's desk, one of my favorite stores, they now sell out of a warehouse, was Off the Wall Antiques on Melrose.
I used
Remember
to love
them?
Off the Wall,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Remember them?
Yeah.
They're not. I didn't know they weren't there anymore.
No, they've been gone for a while, and they would have all kinds of wacky stuff.
Yeah, props and all
Off
sorts
the
of
wall,
things.
they did props, and I got a couple of gremlins from them that they had in the Warner Brothers stores.
The actual little figures.
Yeah, that they
They
some
used
guy
to
was
hang
selling
on
it.
lights in the store. And
Yeah,
everything.
and some guy was selling them on eBay, and Warner Brothers sent him a cease and desist. So I bought them under the table. Now Warner Brothers is going to be coming to my door. Great.
Yep.
Great. You'll be knocking at my door.
Yep.
It's great.
We're gonna
Cops
call.
are going to come after me. There's going to be a whole list
Phoebe
of offenses
Cates May
from the
herself
blue
show up.
light on my Chevy to the gremlins. I got a jail term here. Now, how come Bobby Slayton shot himself in the head? The police were at the door. What did he do? You know,
Taillights
came
and
from my gremlins.
Taillights and gremlins.
yeah. Not
So
till
the
they
store
peel,
off the
yeah,
wall.
Yeah. So anyway, I would go there all the time, and they had a desk. There are two desks. Oh, I bought some really cool stuff. I bought a car from Coney Island that was turned into a coffee table. Michael Jackson had bought one. I had some really cool stuff over the years from Off the Wall Antiques, and they had a desk, a little Art Deco type desk, not a big size, like a vanity desk. And they said we bought this at Lou Costello when they sold one of his
Estate.
houses at an estate auction. So I bought it, and I guess Jim Belushi got the other one, bought it for his son. And I remember talking about it because I was going to sell it at one time when I was getting rid of some stuff in my house. I don't know why I was going to get rid of it. Put it on eBay and said, this is Lou Costello's desk. And Lou Costello's daughter, Chris, I think said, emailed me and said that was never in our house.
Okay.
And I called her up, and I said that Off the Wall told me that the top, it wasn't like his big desk like you have.
Sure.
It wasn't where he sat there
But it was
smoking a
something
cigar
he had-
and
right.
reading scripts.
Right.
It wasn't his big Al Capone. Olson, you're fired. There's a
Right.
newspaper, not a circus.
No,
It
sir,
wa-
I don't like
Yeah,
it.
it wasn't a Perry White desk.
Right.
I knew I'd get you laughing again.
Yeah.
She loved me again. I knew that.
You know.
Was that a Superman reference?
Superman.
Perry White?
Perry White
Yeah.
from the TV show.
Okay.
It's not a circus. Come to my office. Miss Lane. Kent.
That's right.
Olson. It's a newspaper, not a circus. He said all
I
that.
can't believe I got that.
Yeah. Who played him?
I don't know. I know nothing about the superheroes and
Greatest
all
show
that
ever.
stuff.
Anyway, so
Greatest show ever.
I love that show. I grew up watching that after school. Slice of pizza, a joint, 4:30 every afternoon. We'd watch it. Anyway, let me finish my story. You're all over the place, you two. You don't stop. So I called up his daughter, and I said, no, I knew it wasn't your father's main desk, but at the top of the stairs of your house, there was a winding staircase. The guy from Off the Wall told me there were these two vanity desks, one on each side. He goes, oh, yeah, now that you mentioned it, I
Oh,
remember.
wow. Because
She
the
was a
guy
little
knew
girl.
right where they came from, of course.
Yeah. And she goes, oh, yeah, I remember when I'm being in my sister's room or something, and that's right. So anyway.
But confirmation from the family.
Yeah. So I still have the desk. And it really is a nondescript little, it's sitting in my office. It's where I keep my drum pad and my, it's in my drum room. You have to come over sometime. You can see that, and you can play the drums.
I would love to.
Two gorgeous sets.
I would love to. You said Ludwig was the first. What was the second? You
I
wanted an auction.
my girlfriend bought me Gretsch for my birthday. Beautiful set of
that's right.
Gretsch.
I love Gretsch.
And at this auction, I won a Chad Smith's from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
kidding.
A beautiful, gorgeous, giant set of DWs.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
You won that one. You didn't pay for that.
No,
Those
that one I paid.
DWs
No,
are
I paid,
expensive.
well, I paid for it, but not what it was worth.
Right.
You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to
should-
see it. I'd love to talk more
Come
off
over
the
outside
air.
of time. You see my tiki collection. I got some 50 stuff. I have a really cool house. You'd love it because you have a cool place here.
Thanks,
Really cool.
Thanks.
As a matter of fact, your book of all your books. I have a book I have to give you. You might want to. You don't really have room for it though. It's a real. There's
always room.
You know what? I got to find them. I have a pile of books, and they were from. I was playing some comedy club, and in the back room of the comedy club, I guess maybe it used to be a school or something. They have all these children's books. I want to be a taxi driver when I go up. I want to be an airline stewardess. They're all from the 50s.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Are they as cool as they sound?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I've given some away over the years, but I have a few of them. I'll give you one.
Well, I'm just going to
Thank
say
you.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds really neat.
You can come over too.
Thanks.
We had a guest here yesterday who said that he suggested we ask something new. If you enjoyed your experience, who would you recommend from your friends to be on this show? It's almost like a nominate, like the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Well, I don't know. I don't really talk to anybody.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? There's
This
a
is
million.
tough. You're the first one.
there's a
I've never
million-
asked this before either.
There's a million podcasts, a million shows, and you know what? The only reason I agreed to do this, you weren't far from my house.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
You
that.
know, it gives me an excuse to go over to the Italian deli
Proximity.
on Magnolia
Proximity.
and then the Monster Store, Halloween Town. You're not far from there, so it's an excuse to buy fresh bread and San Marzano tomatoes. So if you know what the fuck, I'll do this too.
Fair enough. All right, we'll skip that. Mrs. Ryan, who do we have tomorrow?
The Florins,
oh,
I
gosh.
think.
All right. Yeah, tomorrow is Chris and Andrew Florin. They are father and son Porsche files and Porsche photographers. They're both awesome.
That's going to suck compared to me. That's going to be a big letdown.
Andrew has been here before, and he's bringing his dad as well, which will be great. Bobby Slayton, we very much appreciate you coming today.
And next time, I know you're going to want me back. I have so many more stories. I'd like to get your. I'm not going to keep it, but my cleaning woman has the greatest set of cups and things and T-shirts from shows. People always give me
from you, yeah,
radio
sure.
shows. Oh my God, I think I've clothed their entire family.
Yes, when you come back, we'll have all of the stuff.
Okay.
I love you so much, Mrs. Ryan. We love you, Bobby Slayton.
And I love you, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. What is that from? What is that from?
I don't know.
Oh my God, before my time, Mr. Showbiz. Jimmy Durante would have closed the show.
For me, it's he kicks the bucket in Mad World.
Oh, of course.
It's my all-time
Right.
favorite. We love everybody at home. Please love one another, and we will see you tomorrow.
Okay, I'm going to go.